Architects have always strived to conceptualize an enclosed space while making a physical and visual connection with the outside. And who better to explain this experiential journey than our master speaker, architect Gurjit Singh Matharoo, a fellow member of the Royal Institute of British Architects and principal architect at Matharoo Architects, Ahmedabad. His studio, with its diverse scale and nature of projects, has brought international recognition like International Architecture Award by Chicago Athenaeum, the Architectural Review Best House Award, AR Emerging Architecture Award, and many more. They were also invited to International Architecture Biennale at Venice. The projects at the studios are injected with a potent dose of wit, so the buildings are playful and fun to be in, reflecting their working philosophy: when in doubt, reduce; when not in doubt, surely reduce. He taught at CEPT University and was appointed Area Chair for Architecture Design in the Faculty of Architecture at CEPT. He was also a visiting faculty at NID and deeply passionate about mechanics and design of automobiles. May I request Matharoo sir to please come on stage.
Good evening to all. Thank you, Raf, for having me here. When the theme came, we thought of looking at our designs in a way that people say that all the projects are very diverse. They keep changing, so we're looking at some constant. What is it that has continued with us? And it's a small presentation on some of these things that we thought are still part of our design. Next. We have the change here. Salil, you took it with you, huh? No. Also, is it possible to lower the light? So it's titled Spatial Continuum, and some experiments with spaces that we have continued so far. I've got 5 projects under this, each one which is spatial configuration that we're going to see here. So starting with biaxial. So here is a project, it's in Rajasthan, it's in Sirohi. We were to do a dharamshala. And the client's requirement was that there was already a temple and they wanted the rooms to look towards the temple. We looked at the surroundings and there were beautiful Mount Abu hills on one side, there was a lake on the other side, and we thought we should orient the suites in the direction of the nature and not the temple, because anyways that's what they are there for. And finally we could convince them by orienting the passage, which is the linking passage, in the direction of the temple. So that's the section. You have a suite on top and a suite below, and they look out on both the directions, and the passage is hanging in the center of it, so that both the spaces are continuous. With this, there is when you are in the passage, there is one kind of a space which is linear, while when you enter the suite, it completely changes the direction and you have a completely different experience. So this theme has been constant with many projects. Right now, for the shortage of time, I can only demonstrate in one of them. Yeah, so that's the kind of the breaks in the space that is happening. There are these walls in Nimbada stone, which basically house all the services. So you have a very clean space which is remaining in between. And that's the passage in the direction of, somewhat in the direction of the temple that's there, which is hanging in the middle. So you see the staircase which is going up, and then there is a staircase which goes down to the upper and the lower suites. So here you see that the passage is hanging, and we have the walls in between, and all the spaces are nestled in between. So it's basically a change of direction, complete 90-degree change of direction. And that's the suite on top, and that's the suite on the lower floor, which are opening out into the two directions fully. So you can actually, you have 7 feet of space to get out, and above the parapet wall you have the entire upper floor open. And you can see the passage which is hanging in the middle, very extremely local materials and concrete, Kota stone, etc. And that's the suite from inside. So basically what from that narrow, thin, long space, it is completely converted into a space in the other direction. So these are the two, basically the two plain, clean spaces that are there. And that's all the building there is. You can see Kota stone, you have simple plywood shuttering, ceiling. The wall continues inside, services are all inside that, and a partition of cupboards with plywood. And you can see the lake in the front on one side, and you have the hills on the other side. Yeah, another, we always talk about this missing staircase in this panel, and what is the significance of that, because everything was based on Jain tenets. But here the reason is that the contractor read the drawing differently, so, and that's the contribution from the contractor. Finally, the passage ends in an amphitheater, which basically traverses the gap between the height from the top to the bottom, the middle to the bottom. And this is made with chain link precast elements. And now here the spaces are very clean. I mean, you can actually see the two different directions. We come to the second project and a concept which is called Reveal. Basically, the center of the building is not made evident right in the beginning, and you pass through layers of enclosures before you reach the center. And this adds to the curiosity and to some kind of a surprise and a discovery, element of discovery. This was a temple. They came to us because they wanted a temple which was a low-cost temple. So I think that was very good, because we could get away from the ornament and do something with the space. This is in Ajmer, which is very close to, that's my hometown also. So it is always a pleasure to be somewhere in Rajasthan nearby. So the first layer that you see, it's also an ashram all around, and the first layer is of this stone, laser cut sandstone jali, which frames the city on the outside. And you have the corridors in the ashram, which are basically lining the entire complex. All the rooms, they open out towards this side. We didn't want the crowd to be seen on the inside of the temple. And then you have in the center the temple, which starts with a square plan, and it slowly unfolds and becomes two parallel walls which are open-ended. And that was the interpretation, and which was taken very well by the sect. The rooms from the inside, there is a double layer, and again you have the same stone jali which is looking inside. So a low-cost project, basically using materials like plaster, basic concrete, etc. And then in the center of the temple is this massive shivling with the entire configuration of Nandi, etc. That becomes the center stage. And luckily we could get rid of, it started with having lots of murals, etc. on the walls. It finally, we could convince them that the light playing on the walls will be the mural, and you don't need to have anything excess. This was done in Jaipur, in the market where they make all these statues. And we made a model in the office and we gave it to them, and they could just enlarge it to 8 ton of stone single piece. And also it is hollowed out from the bottom, so a massive exercise that happened in Jaipur. And the roof of the temple becomes the collector of water, which falls here. Always in Rajasthan, because there is scarcity of water, you want to highlight the water elements as much as possible. And that's from the inside. They were nice enough to leave the ceiling also exposed, which was done with very basic wooden patterns. Any which way the contractor could organize the patterns. And the light is always changing inside this space. And that's the inside. So basically there are layers and layers outside, and finally passing through these layers you reach the center of the place. And it's a constant theme in a lot of our buildings. Here I'm presenting one that has just happened. Unbound, it's our way of putting another spatial concept where the space is not enclosed and it tends to flow outside. So there is an enclosure, but which is like a psychological enclosure and not really a barrier. So this is a large school that we did in Surat, where, and again a very low cost school. This got done in around 2010, and the cost per square foot was 700 rupees. So it is an extremely low cost building. And you will see that the black part is all the structure. So you have the slabs which are folding and making the basic enclosure that is required. Rest everything has been done using plywood and furniture systems, etc. And we have been able to create this building. So that's the dining. It's open on two sides and also open on the sides in the other direction. So at the same time you are connected horizontally like this, and also you are connected in the other direction. All the spaces between the blocks have been covered on top, so they are rain protected. However, when it is raining horizontally, you still get some rain inside. And the classrooms are further shielded on the side. So these spaces become common spaces for all the children, and they are used quite a lot. As you will see also, in the center of each block there are skylights which are bringing in the light. So it's the space which is completely connected to the nature, however protected. So protected from all sides, however you get the sun inside, you get all the wind inside. Sometimes it can get very windy here because the sea is not far away. And these in-between spaces which are getting used much more than we ever expected. We have 2 slides that comes. You can see the skylights which are through and through. Again, the minimal structure, which is basically framing the enclosure part of it. So that's where you have a slightly ordered arrangement of furniture, etc. Rest everything becomes a free-flowing area. Next concept, which is basically you compress the space and then you release it. So then there is this feeling of elation that happens. And once you are compressed, you feel the burden, and then once that is removed in a exaggerated way, there is the elation that happens, and that's what we have tried to do in this building, which is the CREDI headquarters in Ahmedabad. And so basically a building which is normally an office building, but it opens out to public functions whenever there are exhibitions and there are conventions, etc. So they wanted this dual purpose to happen in the same building. So building must change its nature from a very closed building to a very open building. So the red parts that you see are the ones that do this role. So now when you see the building, it is completely closed. And where did the elephant escape from? So that's the question. So that's the front facade, and you will see that they are slowly go on opening, including the gates in the front. So you can have a building which is fully closed from the outside, or it can simply be opened manually. You can see somebody pushing the two doors. And the three facades, there is one facade at the back which also opens out simultaneously. So it is exhibition ready. And then the exhibition hall opens out onto the side garden where they were not supposed to build. So that's the garden that it spills over on. And all the inside is basically all left free, with all air conditioning ducts are taken in the outer periphery. So you get this kind of an element. And that's the unbound space that one is encountered with once one is inside. So this is the space that is used for exhibitions, etc. It's a completely open space with no barriers. We come to the last category, which is space which is buoyant, and this is a house that we did recently in Chennai. So it was a very tight plot with only the corner opening, and plus the requirements were extremely complex. Also there was vastu and some sides, because buildings all aside, there's a multi-story building right next to it which you couldn't open out to. So with this, what I'm showing here is the black, which is the ground floor, and the red, which is the first floor, and the lines don't match almost at all. So very complex structurally, which we finally tried to make this happen. So here the space is turning along with the planes. So you have a continuum which is formed when the planes turn, they fold into each other. But you will find that very few of them actually reach the ground. So it's a structure which is suspended from the roof. So here, if you may notice, the door has a wall above it, but it doesn't come down till the ground. Then we have this beam coming out, but it also doesn't come down onto the ground. Then so on and so forth, you will see that they keep on folding into each other, but don't touch. The column of the staircase is actually suspended from the top again, so it doesn't come down. And then it has this continuity with the outside that is established. Another view of the same thing, like the garden continues, so the wall is not, it is suspended again. And from that there is a slab which is projecting out, which is not overlapped. So this was quite a difficult exercise that we finally managed. And that's one column in the center which actually comes down. Otherwise there are no other columns that are reaching the ground. And courtyard has become part of the... So what is happening is that the space is turning, it's going up, down, and you move with the folds, and it never ends. Similarly, when you come onto the upper floor, you will see that it is again going down, and you can have a connect to the courtyard outside, then again to the sky. This wall that has come up is creating a slit here, and so on and so forth. You will see the part of the slab which has been converted and made into a column to suspend the staircase from there. And that's our team, which are rigorously trained into these space bending exercises, so then they can attempt some of the things, experiments that we try out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this intriguing and thought-provoking session. It surely will help us to think and articulate a complex design problem, tell an intricate story, and think with a purpose, adding a dimension to our storytelling. I would now like to invite architect Sanjay Kothari to please come on the stage and present a token of gratitude to our master speaker.